Okay, so I think we are live now. I'm a little behind on getting set up. I apologize. But if you can hear me, if everything's actually live and set up, just comment and let me know. I just got back from taking my kids to swim class and I hadn't eaten lunch yet, so finishing up one of these things real quick. Okay, so I think we're good to go now. We're doing something a little bit different, which has basically been the vibe every single time we do this. Is I figure out a different way to do it that is slightly less problematic. So I have PowerPoint up. If you were watching the last stream, I tried to also present from like my drawing tablet so that I could write in Photoshop. But the problem is the tablet that I have to do like my Photoshop drawing is a little underpowered for Photoshop. I think it's technically in the range where it like theoretically should be able to run, but they really recommend more RAM. And then for the like the way I use it, it's just way underpowered. I'm going to try to get a better one at some point, but for now, we're going to try out Photoshop. Hello. Okay, so I see one comment, so at least we are live and people can see this. Okay, so I put everything up in Photoshop, or not Photoshop. Wow. Swim class is frazzling, let me tell you. I have everything up in PowerPoint right now, which I think will work for our case here, where I can still kind of move things around in a way that makes sense, but I'll have to type instead of draw it out. It'll be fine for now. So I have everything we kind of talked about from the last stream for the spell language, which is basically this main structure for doing the spells, where we have, you know, our main verb. You can see my mouse. That's handy. That's actually really handy. So yeah, so we have the main verb. We have the mood clause, which basically lets us do the actual spell part where it's like commanding a spirit to do something. And then the topic marker of essentially the spirit we're controlling, and then any unincorporated bits that go to the verb. And then I pulled out some of the stuff that's going in the verb stem and some of the stuff that's going in the post verb. And this is mostly all the notes that I have from last week, other than like I have some specific bits and ideas for some of like the individual parts and like some specific spell structures, which I think will be good. I did spend a little bit of time thinking about what exact spells I would want for my story. So I did some like research in one of my notebooks here on like which grimoires I wanted to have in the story and what kind of spells would be in them. So I have some lists of spells that I think will actually happen. So I think we can go through, once we like make sure we have all this kind of stuff correct, we can go through and be like, okay, do we have components figured out for doing all these spells, and whether or not like we figured out how that will work. And then we can go through and like start working through like the individual pieces and figure out exactly what the options are going to be, like what different like pronoun markers are we going to have, what, you know, are the different intensifiers going to be, like that sort of stuff, all the noun cases, etc. And the one other thing I wanted to show you is, while I've been working on this for the grimoires for the spell books, I got this book, which is The Art of the Grimoire by Owen Davies, and it's just like an illustrated history of magic books and spells, which is really kind of cool. It just has lots of little like random things in here. I don't know. It's very interesting. I haven't gone through it too much yet, but I figured this might give me some inspiration for the actual like, you know, grimoires when I put those together. But it's cool. Some of them like go back really far. Some of these are more modern. I think they have a whole section for like Dungeons and Dragons or something super modern in here. I can't remember where it is, but it's pretty cool. I'll like look through this and, you know, at some point I'll let people know what I think of that. But let's start with looking here at this. And okay, I think I have it all in here. I'm not sure what we would call this look, like this. I guess it's like kind of the grammatical structure for spells. might be what you would call this like view here. I think we have this section is pretty well figured out, right? We have, you know, our topic, proper noun here with the vocative case. For the mood clause, we have the subject, which we'll figure out pronouns later. Let's see, I noticed an error. The first bullet point under verb should change the topic marker. Oh, yeah, to verb clause. Should change the topic marker to the verb clause. Topic marker to mood clause, to mood clause. Well, where the subject marking on the main verb only gets dropped if the mood clause is present. Yeah, I think that could be possibly, yeah, because it's this subject, right, that gets moved here. It's not this subject. So if we didn't have the mood clause, yeah, I think then that kind of makes sense, because that's the kind of impetus for pushing it out here, is so that you kind of can see that from the beginning. Because if this was a proper noun anyway, it would just go, I guess, here. But if it wasn't like with this mood clause where they're being addressed. So subject is dropped if used, if like it's dropped if the mood clause. Okay, so subject is dropped if there is a mood clause and is then indicated by the topic marker over here. Yes, I think that's right. I might go through, and since we're doing, wow, hold on. I might go here and change this to like a gray color so that it's clear that that's kind of optional and usually dropped. Yes, okay. Good, thank you. So yes, I think we're good here with the topic marker. I think the mood clause is pretty good. We'll have to come back to this concept again later when we have other uses for the mood clause, because right now it's just the I or potentially we or non-plurality indicating we. Well, whatever, we'll get to that later, but we'll need to figure out the pronoun markers, right? We'll have whatever the like word is for that imperative mood, the command, and then we'll come up with the different types of degrees or different intensifiers, which I think those will all be kind of the same, which will be fine. And then we do need to think more about the verb stem. That's going to be verb root, action morpheme. I'll need to kind of figure out which action morphemes I want to have. I'll need to figure out which determiners that will be applied to the direct object. I think that's all pretty straightforward here. Let's see, what else do we have? And then right now, the only unincorporated bits we have is if you have an indirect object, they get pushed out and they have whatever the appropriate case is to indicate that link. I'll probably want to build up all those links that I think we need to have and what is what part goes in the post verb and then what case that indicates over here in the unincorporated indirect object. And then proper nouns, yeah. I think this one will be fine. This is just going to be like another case. So we'll have vocative, nominative, I think is the other one, and then accusative. So what I think we can do is if I just copy like this bit, noun cases, and then I'll just copy this bit over. And we need to have an accusative case, nominative case, and what was the other one? Oh, vocative, yeah. Vocative case, which we'll have to figure out. And I think that in this case is just going to be like a single column in a table. I don't think we have any like, let's see, there's noun cases and there's noun, is it groups, or I can't remember what they normally do when they have like tables for these, what that other axis is, if it's like essentially groups, like if they're gendered or if there's like a plurality or something indicated by that. I'm not sure if we'll have any of that here, so it might just be as simple as that. But I'll move that up here. And then we'll also have, I guess these are cases too, class, gender, number, and some. Yeah. So I don't think we'll need that. Usually declension tables indicate case and number. Okay. So what we'd be essentially building over there is the declension tables, and in this case, what do we need number? Okay, let's do, just so that I can remember and start to learn some of this terminology. So these are essentially declension tables. And what we'll have is a table. Let's say it looks like that. And so over on this side, we'll have the noun cases. And then we might have something to indicate like plurality or something. So let's see. Along with the category that specific declension falls into, typical noun class, form of the verb if the case, suffix, prefix changes with the noun form. So then the question is, do I know if I want to have those? I don't know if I do. I don't know if there's any that I've identified that I definitely need to have. So right now, I think it's just, we have the noun cases. And I don't think I currently have any variations. Like there might be variations of like on the endings, which are, oh, I have a note for that somewhere. Something eames or something. What are those called? Where it's like, let's see, do I have that written down? I don't know if I have that written down, unfortunately. Oh, allophones and allomorphs. I don't know if we could use it for that. Doesn't this language lack grammatical number? Yes, I think it does right now. You could have a single class of case markers and then have them mutate according to the Sandy rules of this language whenever they attach to the noun stem. Yes, I definitely think I want to do that. And that essentially gives us like the allomorphs or whatever, I think, right? Or would you not call it that in this case? But yes, so that's essentially, sorry, I didn't mean to take that away. I'm a little frazzled today. I apologize. I feel like I'm frazzled every day, but that's just how it works. So a single class of case markers, right? And have them mutate according to the Sandy rules of this language whenever they attach to the noun stem. Yes, so what we would have is just different forms depending on what those rules end up being. And then I guess as we build nouns that don't follow the rules of the language, we can then adjust them and come up with different variations to figure out all the ones we need. So let's make a note for that for use, how do I spell that? Sandy rules to create allomorphs of suffixes. Rules. Yes, so I think that's what we would want here. And we can get a little bit smaller for now. So I noticed in the last stream you wanted plosive consonants to occur only in the middle of the word. So it could be that if they end up in the morpheme at the end of the word, they become fricatives. Yeah, so I do want to do that. So We want plosive consonants to occur only in the middle of words. So it would be if they end up in a morpheme at the end of a word, they become fricatives. Right. Yeah, something like that. I would think since these noun cases only ever go at the end, I don't think these would like stack or anything like that. So I would think the cases themselves would not have any of those in it. And then potentially if the actual nouns themselves had those endings, or maybe. So when a noun is used by itself, right, and it's not indicating a case, and it's like a default case or something, like I kind of assume like nominative won't actually have an ending to it potentially, and it will just be like, the default. And then you'd have suffixes for accusative and vocative and any other ones that we have. I don't think that they would ever have a reason to have the plosives that we talked about. So then I think nouns could have those at the end, and they would just have to transform into another sound like a fricative if they're in the nominative case, and otherwise they would just be able to keep those. So we can add a note. Just add a note there so that when we get into this more detailed, we can look at that. So a noun root like ak is realized as but you add a suffix I to it and it becomes ak. Yeah, exactly. I think that would be cool. So we can have the noun roots have anything in them, like regardless of those rules of the language, and then we will just change it here. So we can add another note to not forget that later, because I probably will. So yeah, consonant clusters can't have plosives if starting or ending a word so just after applying cases. And that would also come into factor in when we're doing our verb stems and we're incorporating the direct objects. If those nouns have those plosives in it, that would be fine for them to stay in that case. And it would only be like if for some reason there is no post verb at all and it's just the verb stem, then if they're ending that verb stem, we'd need to see that sound change. Yes. So I think in general, we'll also need to create a sound change system. I'm sure there's an actual word for that, where we have plosives at start become, say, fricatives. And I think I'd want to make that process relatively straightforward, like the rules be relatively strict, like if it's this, it becomes this. And then we could always add a couple of like random things in there, but I think that would be fine. So allophony, yes. Oh, okay, that's just called allophony. Okay. Okay, yes. So we have noun cases. We will have, I think, a single declension table here. And then I don't think we'll need to have different like allophones here. It would only be if we want to put number in here somehow. I had talked about doing, let me pull up my separate notes. I think this was in the PowerPoint or the Photoshop version that didn't get put into, but I do have as a note in the determiners, which are here, right? The determiners on the object. I do have a note that we could have ones that imply the number, like any, many, each, some of, the individual one. So that could be the extent of how we do plurality, as just having like a marker at the end, or not even at the end, it would go before. So then if you were having multiple of something, it would be like a prefix on the object itself as a marker, which would mean it wouldn't impact the ending of these at all. It would be something that would go then at the beginning, I think. And so they could potentially have forms for whether or not they start or end the word, right? Because if they end up in the verb stem, those determiners will never be at the beginning, so they can have plosives in it. But if it's like in the case where we're just saying a noun, it would be at the beginning, and so those might need to have allomorphs or allophones, probably allomorphs in that case. So if we move that over here to, I guess this would be like plurality, prefix markers, and then if it's not a diachronic sound change until it becomes unpredictable. Yeah. I don't want things to be too unpredictable. So if K always goes to H when no longer word final, then that's allophone. But if K goes H when no longer word final and the final vowel deletes, it becomes a diachronic sound change. So I think it would be the first one, since the sound they're turning into already exists in the language as phonemes. Okay, so these would be, I'm just going to say that because essentially we're creating allomorphs, yeah. At this point, given that this is a regular process of mutation that occurs at morpheme boundaries, it's Sandy. Okay, am I pronouncing that right? Sandy? So I guess we could just call it that since it's regular, right? So we'll have a system for that right there. And then, yeah, plurality prefix markers. So I think we'll default to, we talked about this before, didn't we? I think we're going to default to the number not being specified. So unspecified or implied number would be unmarked. The A in Sandy is closer to the A in about than in Sandy. So about versus Sunday, like that, maybe. Sunday. So then we would have a special marker for specified singular and a marker for, we'll just say multiple right now. Okay. Table, layout, delete row. So some sort of prefix marker if we want to specify that it's singular or multiple, but we don't need to figure that out now. So I'm just going to move that over to the side with question marks. I might, is there a way to just like move something in a table? I might just move this one up because this is our default case, our nominative. And then for accusative, we'll have some sort of ending. Vocative will have some sort of ending. And these over here would also be noun cases. So this will be for every type of like valency operations that we have going on there, whether or not it's, we have some options here about locations and beneficiaries. We'll have to detail those out later, but we can add these two as options. So dative and locative. Dative and locative. Wow. Oh no. What is happening to my keyboard? Okay. I wonder if this is because I'm streaming. It's getting upset. Okay. Hopefully this chills out. in a bit. Yes. Okay. So we will have all of our different noun cases over here. We will process the sandhi in a separate like table sort of thing. And then we'll have the plurality prefix markers over there that we'll use for marking number if we need to, but it's by default unmarked. So these would be the prefix, and these are suffixes, which I think makes sense. So then because my brain is my brain, we're going to move these all the way to the right side because they're suffixes, so they go on the right side of the noun. Probably shorten this up a little bit. Move that over. Declension table. I guess it's a singular declension table. We can, this is kind of unnecessary at this point. The sandhi will go here because that'll go on the ending of the noun root, and then plurality markers will go at the beginning. So we'll move that over here. Okay, that makes sense to me. So this is our noun stuff that we have figured out so far. Save that, and then we'll go back up here. So where were we over here? So we have the noun stuff, which we talked about here and here. We've talked about accusative case. I think we have that here. The accusative, the vocative, nominative. And then the big things I think left to figure out are the pronoun markers, which sort of tie into the noun stuff. And then all of this, I think, is going to be the big topic. So I think maybe we start with the pronouns, because that's kind of working off of this concept here of having no number be marked, right? So if we have this down here and we have like pronoun prefix markers, let me see if we have specified notes for this anywhere. Yes, so we have, let me just delete all of this out of here. Oh no. Okay, so we will have an unspecified number. We will have specified singular and specified plural, right? I think is what we were saying. So then we would have maybe the equivalent of first person. Okay, wait. How would this work? So how would you word that if it's not technically first person? Because it could be third person. So it's essentially like speaker inclusive. I'm not sure if there's a word for that. And then speaker exclusive. And then we could potentially also have separate ones for it. So this would be, so speaker exclusive people and speaker exclusive like item, right? So like non, what would be the right word for that? Inanimate? Maybe? So then if it's, this would be I, right? Your equivalent of I. This would be your equivalent of we. Animate and inanimate. Yeah, I think that's the distinction we need to make here, because it's not just people, right? So speaker, so a singular, so this would be your he, she equivalent. And oh God, and this would be your they equivalent. Do not know why my keyboard's doing this. It's never done this before. I almost wonder if streaming this stuff just makes it really glitchy. There we go. Why? I'm just leaving it. It's fine. And then this would be our equivalent of it. And this would be is still they in English. And then we don't have unspecified ones. But we don't need that in English. We have it here. So let's make this a little bit larger. Yeah, so speaker inclusive, speaker exclusive animate, and speaker exclusive inanimate. We don't need an inclusive inanimate because that would be weird. Okay, so this will be prefix markers. So question mark dash, question mark dash, question mark dash. And in theory, we can have, if I end up seeing a use case for having them not be markers, then we could always have like them be separate words and figure out like maybe you would add maybe you would have like a nominative case marker then or something if you wanted to use one of these markers to turn it into like an object in and of itself and not just a pronoun marker. Come on. There you go. Okay, so we have that. That gives us our pronoun prefix markers. So then if we go back up here, the intensifier, which is fine. Okay, so then I think we either need to dive into the verb stem or the post verb. I kind of lean towards the verb stem. Let's dive in there first because I feel like this will be a little bit more condensed, maybe, which could be just me being crazy, but I feel like that's simple. So, verb stem, verb roots, action morphemes, determiners, direct objects. This is everything that would be in that verb stem itself. So, we kind of already have this handled, right, with all of our noun stuff. So the real big questions are going to be the action morphemes and the determiners. I think those are the only things that are like unique right now that we haven't talked about, because the verb roots are just going to be like morphemes, right, for things for the verbs. So there's a random text field. So action morphemes. And so these will be what turns these verb roots into actual verbs. So these are just generic morphemes. So let's write a few examples real quick here. So let's see. Let me actually pull up the spells that I have in here just to pull some from there. So this would essentially be, well, actually, you know what? Okay, you know it will be easier. Sorry for jumping around a lot, everybody. So let's do some spell examples. So I want to be able to have some sort of spell that's essentially saying like bring clear, be in bring clear skies, like bring wet skies, aka rain, and then bring cold wind from the north, that sort of vibe, right? Okay. So those are some basic ones there. And then also, let's see. Warn me if, lead me to, stir the pot, beat this pot. Those are some generic examples, right? So let's see. So like bring clear skies is pretty simple. Where do I have? I have a table for this in here somewhere. We're looking at this. So, okay. So these are verbalizing suffixes, maybe, that are action morphemes. So verbalizing this is annoying. Come on. Verbalizing suffix. Okay. So some of the ones that I saw are like causative. So you make the whatever the verb root morpheme is, you make that happen. So bring clear skies could be in that form, right? Where I want you to cause clear skies to happen. There's also, let's see, giving or putting, which could be like to bring something, right? Why? Hold on one second. Nope, it's plugged in. My camera's saying the battery's low. I don't think it's going to matter because it's plugged in, so it should be getting its battery from that. I don't know why it's saying it's low in battery. Hopefully that doesn't just stop working. Although with the trend of technical difficulties we have, it would be unsurprising. Okay, so where were we? Yes, so I think having a causative one makes sense. Oh no, hold on. Need to actually turn Discord on to do not disturb again. Okay. There, that's on do not disturb. So causative, which is, right, to make clear skies or to cause clear skies would be the thing here. But I think there should be maybe a specific one for bringing something, or because it's not that they're just like causing clear skies to happen. They're moving around the winds to make, maybe the rain or the clouds blow somewhere else. So maybe that would be sufficient, and then you leave the manner in which they actually do that up to them, right? So causative would cover probably all of these right here. And then some of these are a little bit more complicated. Stir the pot would be, what would be a verbalizer, I guess, to build the word stir? I mean, it could be to cause stirring, right? Where the verb root is sort of stir and it's still causative, like cause stirring to happen. I think that could make sense. Same thing with heat. Honestly, all of these could be pretty causative. Yeah. I think that makes sense. Because there's also ones that are for like using something, which I think would be a good one, maybe. Let's see. It could just be a vowel or something put in to make a word that already means stir into a verb. Yeah, where it just... that's true. So there could be like a default, like, turns a verb root into just an actual verb. Oh my gosh. What on earth is going on with this keyboard? I can't even remember how far I typed. For root that is already a verb. Great. Great. Okay. I think that's a good idea to have, though, because that'll keep it simple. No. Whatever. I'm leaving it like that. Okay. Just got here, missed a lot of the discussion, so it might already be done, but for the KH sound change, would it make sense to spell it out? So if it's the end of the word, it's soft. Potentially. That could probably be an option, right? If it ends in a K. Although I think I had said that those plosive sounds, well, because that's the sounds, not the letters, right? I don't want that sound at all to be in the starting or ending consonant cluster, but if it's makes it the k sound, then the question is there technically still a k sound in k? Like, is that close enough to the plosive? I'll have to think about that. I think that will define the exact rules on what sounds are allowed there. I lean towards saying that still wouldn't be allowed. Oh, why is this so? I don't know what it is with my technical difficulties, people. Like, if a vowel is after, it's hard K. Might not work as well for other plosives, like T becomes S, spelling TSB feels kind of iffy. Yeah, I think the adding the H on the end for K would be a unique case for the, like, compared to the other ones. But I think that's an option to consider. So H could become KH. K becomes KH, question marks. And I did intentionally do 3 question marks that time. That was not a glitch. Okay. Yes. So we could potentially look at that. I don't know exactly what we will want those to be yet. I know I don't want the plosive sound, so I think I'll have to see some of the words together to decide where exactly I'm going to draw that line on whether or not it has that plosive sound or not in it. But yes. So we decided we were going to have a causative. I think the use one, I don't know what, like, usative, is that a word? Can that be a, oh my gosh. Because that's essentially like you have food and the use for food is to eat. That is like the primary, like, thing that you do with food is that you eat it, I guess. Which is a little bit vague potentially. So we'll throw a question mark on that, or a lot of question marks, as it will be. And then I also have notes for, like, to have something. So, like, to eating food, the verb would be like to be sated, to sate, I guess. Or to seek, to, go in search of something. I don't think we have any cases where that would be necessary. Oh, instrumental. Brilliant. Yes. Yes, that would be the word. So, like, a hammer hammers, you eat food, like, whatever that instrumental action is for that noun makes it the verb. Yes, I like that. Brilliant. Instrumental. So we have instrumental causative, and then whatever the default will be for something that's basically already a verb, like stir. So then heat would essentially be, causing heat, I guess, would be the verb. So you would have heat, and then it would be causative. So it's possible these are all the verbalizing, like, derivation options that we need. Because this is still this is derivation, right? Going from a noun to a verb, or I guess a verb to a verb, is still derivation because we're kind of changing the meaning, maybe. So these are suffixes that normally go in the middle. So we could have a case here where there's different versions depending on how they would end. But again, I think we could just worry about that in the Sunday, I think, which would be fine. Instrumental is a noun case, though. Oh, it'd be a case used here for the indirect objects. It might not work very well here for forming. Oh, that's true. Yeah, because then you would... So we might need like something separate that is sort of... Could we essentially just have two things that sort of mean the same thing but are used in different ways? Maybe. So if we have... Where are our noun cases? So if we add that here, let's drop this all the way down below. It can be a valency as well. Okay. Yes. Okay. So we're gonna specify that. So we're gonna have... No. No. Why does this computer hate me so much? Like, you would think that I would be relatively tech savvy and computers would just bow to my will, given that I'm a software engineer, and really they should fear me. However, that is not the case. That is not what happens. Okay. So we have a specific instrumental noun case, and then if we want to have a separate action morpheme that is not the same, is specifically not the same, I think instrumental usually implies the object is used to complete an action on another object. I wonder if that could be like an optional thing, or if it would have to be... Because you can still say like obviously you hammer something else, but you don't have to say like I'm hammering this nail. You could just say I'm hammering, right? And that's still sort of instrumental. But then if you were doing one of these other ones, like, I don't know, let's say we were weird and we decided stirring the pot was like spoon instrumental. Like, you're still, even if you're just stirring, there's still the implication that what you're stirring is the like liquids in the pot or whatever's in the pot. So maybe that still works as instrumental. Maybe. May not be as applicable to food you eat. Yeah, and I mean, again, that case isn't really what we'd be doing here. I think it would normally have an object completing an action on another object, or at least that is implied, right? Whether or not it's necessary for the context. Hello, Anna. Sending you remote IT vibes to pacify the computer. I really hope it works. That'd be great. This thing is being annoying. So what if we just called this instrumentative and just, are really dumb about it, right? Where what it does is something different, or we could even call it something entirely different, but it's like, I guess, using an object on something else. Yes, stirring the pot would be instrumental. Yeah. So I think we can still have an instrumental type thing. It's just going to be different. And it's not going to be the same as this. And it will be an entirely separate, different thing. Yes. I am trying to think if there's any other cases I can think of. Because, like, to burn is to cause fire. Let's see. I reckon stir can be made with a verb root indicating shake or mix, and then just putting a dummy action morpheme onto it that doesn't necessarily mean anything on its own. Yeah, I think that's what we'd actually want to do. Like, I think that's the right way to do it. I was just trying to think of an instrumentative, like, example. Make. To make, or... Yeah, because there is, like, some type of creation morpheme. Actually, I think that's interesting because bringing clear skies, right? Like, there is the idea of like causing there to be clear skies is kind of a different way to think of it than a like create clear skies, where like creating fire could be different than like, you wouldn't cause, I mean, you can cause fire, but I think having a creation one does actually make a lot of sense. I was just pointing out eat food is different. Yeah. Like the idea of ing. Yes. Yeah, I think so. So let's do creative. creational, maybe? Clearing the skies. Yeah. So like for bring clear skies, it could be literally like removing something. So there could be how would that work actually? So I have in terms of doing things like in a negative way, that is I have it written down here somewhere. I think it's like, is that an aspect? I think that might be, is that a verbal aspect? But yeah, so like if you wanted to clear the skies, that could be causing a like negating aspect onto like creating clear skies, like create the opposite of clear skies. I think that might be how we do that here. In the context of the spell, the cause and create distinction might be really important, especially in regards to how the spell actually manifests. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I think it would be a good thing to it would probably add a lot of variety too, literally just thinking about it from like an aesthetic perspective, right? Having a bit more different distinct versions in there. A causative on fire could be used to burn something, while a creative word would straight up create a fireball. Yeah, I think that's true. Because like you can heat something, like if it's essentially like heat is the word and you're saying cause heat, that could even just be warming something up. Whereas like I want you to literally create fire could be something a little bit different. So instead of the skies are clear, it would be X cleared the skies, active rather than passive. Active rather than passive. So I think it would still be, so we wouldn't be like we're telling someone to do something. So I don't think it would be like an active versus passive thing. Like if you were to be remarking upon the clear skies, that would be one thing. But in this case, we're explicitly commanding the skies to be cleared. So I don't think that would apply here. And no problem. I also have literally no idea what I'm doing. So that's the whole vibe here, is who knows what we're doing, not me. But yeah, so we'll have a creational, a causative, an instrumentative, not to be confused with instrumental cases. So then, okay, let's do, yeah, I think we're gonna have negation ones in the, unless we had, okay, if we have a creational morpheme here, it might make sense to have a destructive morpheme where, or like instead of causing something, creating something, you're doing the opposite, where we could have a morpheme specifically for that, or we could have a, because, okay, hear me out. So say we have a destructive morpheme, where it's basically to completely get rid of something. There would be a big difference between doing that and adding like an aspect that means to like, to not do something. Because it's very different to say, like, don't rain today, right? Don't rain today versus get rid of the rain, right? Like destroy all the rain so that it's not raining anymore, right? Like there's a big difference there. And then even the aspect of like stop doing something, like if the winds aren't causing the rain, or you're like talking about like, say your house is burning down, right? There would be a distinction between saying like stop burning the house when they're not burning the house, or don't burn the house when they're, again, not burning the house, but you're telling them specifically to like destroy the fire, put out the fire. Like I feel like that adds like a different meaning to it. A negative could be used in conjunction with the creation to make the destructive, that also allows it to be used in similar constructions with the causative. Ooh. So like an additional, like, yeah, I like that. And then we could use that in other places too. So if we have just a generic morpheme that means like, right, a negative morpheme, then we could have like negative causative and negative creational, whatever we're calling that. And then we would just have like a separate word for that, right? Which could mean destroy and to uncause. I'm not sure what word we'd use to explain that, but a negated causative would be like don't let the house burn as opposed to stop burning the house. The stop would be more of a terminative. Yes. So to cause or to terminate. Yeah, and this is more destructional. We'll go with that for now. I like that. Continuative. So continuative would be, I think, an aspect. I think we've talked about that being an aspect specifically for doing something like in a continuous, unending fashion versus doing something habitually like that. I think that's going to be an aspect here. Okay, terminative and continuative are aspects. Yes. Yes. So we will still have an aspect that is stop something, right? But in terms of just forming verbs individually, like, because you can say, okay, what's a good example of this? So you can say, stop watering the garden, and you could say, destroy the water in the garden, or like, stop the sky from raining on this garden, right? Like, I think we'll use all of them, right? In slightly different grammatical ways. Let's see if I can clean this up a little bit now that it hasn't been doing the duplicates as much as it was earlier. Okay, so I like that. So that gives us verb root morphemes, action morphemes. These can be verbs, they can be nouns, they can be whatever, it doesn't matter. I'll have to come up with a ton of morphemes. So then that covers at least a starting point for this. Oh, wait, hold on. These two are the weird ones. Okay, so warn me if something happens. I feel like a warning, like warn would just be one of those cases where we would go with the like, for the root that is already a verb, just the basic verbalizer. Yeah, I feel like warn would be that. Or cause of warning, but that's a little weird. So you'd be warning me, and then there would be like conditional stuff in the post verb. So then lead me to. Yeah, danger plus basic verbalizer. Yeah, something like that, I think, right? Where whatever the actual morpheme is, I think that one would just be a basic verbalizer. Yes. So then for lead me to, that may also have to just be like a basic verbalizer because you're not causing something, you're not creating something, you're not doing something instrumentally. You're more like, yeah, I think that's, or could this be a case where it's a go somewhere and then we have a valency operator in the, or marker in the post verb that would essentially be saying, go to this place and like whatever that marker would be like, and lead me, like take me with you or something like that. I feel like you could do it either way, right? Where you're telling them to find something maybe, and then you're also telling them to bring you with, as in adding a valency onto it to say lead me to. You could derive it from path. Oh, that's true. Path. So create a path. Create a path. Maybe the instrumental of path is to lead. So path. That could be what that is, like, because that's what paths do, right? They lead you places. So path or lead could be instrumentative path, maybe? I was thinking basic verbalizer a la danger. That's possible. I feel like that wouldn't imply, like, because I feel like we want to have the person there, right? Whereas, like, just leading, like, any of the basic verbalizers, I mean, I guess warn me would also have, like, an indirect object or a direct object on it. So yeah, maybe those would both just be basic verbalizers. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But I don't think we need another action morpheme for those. I think that's covered. There's a few options for how to do that there. Yes. Okay. So we have that. Let's move this down here. Let's move this over here. So we have direct object and then the determiners on top of it. For our direct objects, we will basically have, let me copy this here real quick. And so what these are essentially going to have is they won't have a noun case on them. So it'll be the direct object, and then we won't have the pronouns, but we might have a plurality marker. So optional. No. Okay. I need some serious, like, I don't know. Optional plurality. Why is it doing this? Nah, I can't even type it all. Do you reckon there might be a verbalizing morpheme that makes the verb reflexive? That makes so it redirects the action to the speaker or some other subject. So that would be like a verbalizing morpheme that increases the valency. That adds a okay, so let's think. Reflexive. So like if you were saying go find something versus, like, just as an example, right? So if the verb root is essentially like find, or, you know, find this, whatever, and then you add the reflexive operator. No, it doesn't change the valency, but it creates verbs in the sense of an action being directed at something. Yes, you can interrupt me.
Can I borrow you?
I have been summoned very briefly. I will be right back. What did you say?
That it's the guy.
Okay, you need to find someone that can help you carry it. Okay, so you need to go do that? Yeah. Okay, bye. Go. Go. I can help you in there.
I can take them with me, or I can take them.
Leave them. One sec. Okay, bye. I'm back. I also have wine now. Apparently, we ordered a rowing machine and it got delivered to the wrong address, and the person who lived there called us and was like, "Hey, so like I have your rowing machine. Want to come pick it up?" So my husband's gonna go do that. The kids are still here, so as long as they're not being a problem, we can keep doing this. But at the point that they start becoming a problem, I will have to go. So we'll see what we can fit in here. This is cursed. Okay, so with our danger example, the reflexive thing would make it a warn, but otherwise it'd be like put someone in danger. Oh, okay. That actually makes a lot of sense. redirect the action to the speaker or towards another subject. Oh, okay. I do like that. I do like that. So, okay. So, trying to think what would be reflexive. I mean, I feel like that's just what it would be called, right? Reflexive. But I do like that. I'm losing it, everybody. I am absolutely losing it. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, I'll also try to figure out this technical difficulty before next time. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. No. I'm gonna start like losing like cases and morphemes and all sorts of stuff because they just get accidentally deleted and I don't realize it deletes too many of them. Okay. I wonder, okay, you know what I'm actually gonna do? Oh no, I can't do that. I was hoping I could like copy paste it out of your comment and put it here because that's not using my keyboard, and so far I think my mouse is working. We'll just do that. It's fine. Yep, reflexive. Perfect. Okay, so we have an optional plurality here. Why is nothing working? Oh boy. At least, like, I was watching one of Artifactian's streams. I think it was yesterday. Was it yesterday or 2 days ago, I think? And he was also having technical difficulties, so now I feel less bad. I'm sure this is normal for streaming stuff. I don't watch streams super duper frequently, normally just Artifactian's and like a couple other people's. And they've kind of been doing this a lot longer, so they have most of the kinks worked out, but it's okay. So, yes. Delete this first part because we're talking about doing... Oh, come on. I really don't want to have to just abandon all of this again like we did last time. Come on. Come on. Okay. Okay. There. I hope this is at least entertaining for some of you. Like, this is kind of just ridiculous, in my opinion. Okay. Langtime Studio's been doing weekly streams since 2020, and they still have tech difficulties every few weeks. I am glad. I'm glad we're all suffering together and that it's not just me. Although, honestly, I think what might be the problem is that I don't actually have my computer hooked up directly to the network, right? There's no Ethernet connection. It's just using Wi-Fi. So the fact that I think technically my keyboard is Wi-Fi connected to my computer, which is Wi-Fi connected to the internet, and then streaming, I think maybe although this is like just using Bluetooth. So the Bluetooth really shouldn't be impacted by the fact that it's streaming unless it's just causing it to like, the computer is what's kind of glitching while trying to stream. Maybe that could be the problem. I'm not sure. Always better to watch someone else have technical. Yeah, yes, that is true. I also feel that way. But okay, yes. So we have the direct object, which might have a plurality indicator, right? So if I'm saying like, I want you to, I mean, it depends on how weird we end up getting, right? Like if I'm saying I want you to, I don't know. There'll be things. But, oh, and I get, actually, wait, hold on a second. we also need to have it covered, okay, where instead of having a direct object, okay, no, we're fine, sorry. We're fine. So the direct object is optional and could just be a determiner potentially including something like this, like a demonstrative or demonstrative. I hope it's demonstrative because that's more fun than demonstrative, but that would replace the need for having the direct object, right? If you're saying like, bring me this, and then we would need to say like demonstrative for that I'm pointing at, like this that I point at. We need a way to build that. I don't think you actually need to mark the number in case of the incorporated noun since the post for valency and agreement mark is already. Oh, that's true. So yeah, so I think the only case that we'd need to use it is for determiners where we're saying like if we're saying like burning the tree, right? I want you to burn the tree. It could be burn that specific tree I point at, burn a tree, burn all the trees. Like I feel like you'd use determiners for that, but not actually have any sort of plurality markers there. I agree. We would not need those at all. A bit of Schadenfreude, eh? I don't know. Maybe. I'm missing the reference here. I am dense today. I apologize. If you want to explain that, that would be great. Yes, so we would just have determiners. I definitely want to have the ones that we've already mentioned that are like any, many, each, some, the, there's a word for that. It's like a type. Some people, I think it can be like noun forms where it's like the something versus just like a something. Oh, the watching other people. Yes, that is true. So let's see if this is going to let us do this at all. Because we want determiners. I don't think this is... Come on. Okay, you know what? Let's try something else. Okay, this may be the worst idea I've ever had. Let's see what happens if I try to do this. I already know this is a bad idea. This is a horrible idea. Maybe if I do it in cursive. That's totally helpful and readable, right? You know what that says? Definiteness and deaxis. Yeah, I think that's the concept. I know there's a word that I'm trying to think of that I'm not sure if it's like a noun class or like what it is. It'll occur to me like as soon as the stream ends. But there's also a word for what I'm thinking of. But I think it's like a noun class, I think. I could be wrong. But yes, so we want to have I think it might just be definite or indefinite, maybe, as an article. So like that can be a/the. So oh no, this is horrible. This is so horrible. A/the. Yeah. So that's one type. There's possessive. Which is for saying like my or your. A/the equals. Oh wait, you did basically say that because indefinite is definiteness. Yes, you are 100% way more on top of this than I am. Deaxis would be I guess indefinite is deaxis. I'm probably pronouncing that awfully. This, that versus the. Oh, deaxis that's for Definiteness is a the, right? That's what I have here. So then there's something called deaxis for this or that. I'm going to Google that. DEIXI. I frequently need things explained to me like in 5 different ways before it makes sense. Oh no, I can't even search because it's... Okay, never mind. I'm not Googling that right now. I will make a physical note to myself to Google it later because I can't search it properly. But I will make a note of that here. Deaxis is when you refer to something's position or existence, usually proximity. So would that be like we have... Okay, so we already have those for like the demonstratives, which I guess maybe that would be a better way to call those than calling them demonstratives, although that, this, those, that. Yeah, I think that's what I have noted right now under demonstratives. Demon. Wow, this is bad. If I had gotten this set up to where I could have just used my tablet as like to draw on this, that would have been very nice. But I will Google that difference. IXIS, which is like this, those, etc. Yes. So I'll have to figure that out. And I do want to be able to say like really specific ones like that which I point to, but I think the which I'm pointing to part would either have to be a different form of demonstrative or demonstrative, or it would need to be in the post verb somehow. This is proximal and that is distal. Ooh. That sounds fancy. That sounds very fancy. Okay, I'm going to attempt to write that down. Proximal. So they're like types of demonstratives. That is distal. Okay. And there's also medial. Ooh. Okay. Which one's medial? Is that those or... No, that's just a plurality thing, I think. Medial. Ooh. That used to be the medial and yonder used to be the distal. So that used to be medial and yonder used to be distal. So proximal, near me, distal, away from me. Hey, there, far away. Here, there, far away. Okay, so it's like a scale kind of thing. So near, far, and this would be proximal, distal, and medial. So these aren't even necessarily demonstratives. The demonstratives I've been thinking of are joining the concept of having a deaxis, I guess, or a proximity indicator and a demonstrative indicator, like for saying that I'm pointing at, I guess, maybe. Modern Japanese has kono near me, sono near you, and ano away from both of us. Interesting. That is interesting. That I do the near you part wouldn't ever come up because the spirits aren't in a fixed location. They're in many places all at once, I guess. So even if it existed in the grammar, we wouldn't know that. But medial is present often, proximal, near me, not you, medial, near you / us, distal, away from us. I'm learning so many things. This is why I love doing this on stream, other than the fact that I just have technical difficulties the whole time, and you all probably just get to be like, oh, poor her. But I learned so many new things. Near me, not you. Medial, near you/us. Distal, away from us. Oh. Okay. Yeah, so like we could have any sort of version that we like. For this case, if I am ever, for this spell system to work, the limits of the magic would prevent us from talking about anything that's particularly far away, like not in sight or not like a local concept kind of thing. So I think that having like a near me, like right here, like this versus like that. But if I ever have that kind of way of referring to it, where it's not like a single thing and it's like, oh, well, right here versus over there, I think that I need to have something that's basically like that I'm pointing to normally, unless I can be super specific, like, because would you use these deaxes, daxes, something like that? Would you use those if you're saying like I guess if you're using like saying like a definitive object, like the blue book, you wouldn't say like this blue book or that blue book unless that distinction is sufficient, right? Like, so maybe in the way that I'm thinking about it in my head, where I'm saying like, oh, like, bring me the bottle, right? Like where you're asking them to bring you a bottle, saying like this bottle, which would be dumb, they can't bring you something you already have, or bring me that bottle that I point to. That would probably not be grammatically necessary in this. It would just bring me the definitive bottle. So you probably have the definitive determiner, and then something that indicates which I am pointing to, right? Maybe? Is that how that would? Okay, hold on. I have all the comments of people telling me how to do things. Let's see. It would be entirely reasonable to have a word meaning that, but which always refers to a thing being indicated with gestures. Okay, so having like this, that, and which I point to could just be a different form of it, maybe. Many languages lack definiteness. Wow. I thought I was bad at pronouncing things, but once you start changing the like forms of words that I think I know how to pronounce, I just get worse. So definiteness, but have deaxes, especially languages with a high degree of synthesis. Okay. So yeah, because that makes sense. Because like at that point, if I'm saying like, bring me bottle, right? So like, bring me bottle, and then could have a deaxis for which is being pointed to, right? Maybe. Yeah. Yeah. Lots of redundancy. Yeah. Google says deaxis is 2 syllables. Deixis. 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 I'm going with that. That's what it's going to be now until I forget in like 2 seconds. So Bangla is a language that doesn't really have definiteness or a copula like be or is, but that's another story, where you just refer to the thing without having to specify if it's definite. Okay, so I might not even need that at all, especially given the way these verbs are formed. I don't know if I would need that. When it needs to be by specifying the quantity of the object being referred to. Right. And that actually makes sense anyway, because in this case, right, the plurality is defaulted to not having anything specific. So I think it follows that. I think it would be consistent to not have that then, because you leave things kind of left to be implied to other parts of the grammar. So I think this is probably not necessary. The way I'm understanding your explanation, you have this proximal and definite, that distal and definite, and that unknown location is distal and indefinite. Potentially, yeah, like where it's something right here, like stir this pot, right, would be different. Like, say you're in a room full of pots, right? I think it might make sense to be like, stir this pot, like the one that's like right here that we're like clearly referring to, versus saying, stir that pot, where you would have to assume that they know what you're talking about, and then stir pot I'm pointing at. I think that might make sense. I think that might be it. And then we don't have to do anything weird to add in that I'm pointing at. So we could have this, that, and then I guess being, it could be something like being referred to, or being like, I don't know what it would actually directly translate as. Being referred to or like pointed at would be how it would like physically be manifested. Pointed to. Okay. Yeah. As deixis. Yes. So this is our proximal one. This is our distal one. And this is like, I guess it is sort of like a determinate distal kind of one. Even though it's not like that's like in context, that like is what it would make sense to do. So think about what you would use for a locating spell. Okay, right? Because we've talked about having a spell that's like, lead me to this thing, right? Or lead me to something. And yes, because you're not talking about this or something I'm pointing to, that would be this one, right? The lead me to. Yes, I think. If you needed to, I guess in most cases though, what you'd probably say is just like, lead me to, which to would probably like be a locative marker, like lead me to, and then you'd have indirect objects, so outside of the verb, so not incorporated, would be whatever you want to be led to, which would be like a specific type of flower, or like, I don't know, whatever you're being led to, water, the stream, the river, I don't know. You could just mark it as proximal, medial, distal, with definiteness being implied. Yeah, I think that's probably what I do, because I like the idea of that being sort of like implied in most cases and not have to be specified, like what we're doing in like the other types of things, like the pronouns. So then I guess this would be our medial. And in this case, it would just mean specifically what is being referred to but isn't right here, right? So the thing that's being referred to that isn't right here, and you would point at it, and that would make it clear, but it wouldn't necessarily imply that it has to be pointed at. You know what I mean? Like, as long as it's understood conceptually, the thing that's being referred to that's not right here, then that makes sense. I actually really like that. I really like that. I think it fits in well. I think it doesn't sound like you're literally creating an entire language just to be used for spells, because that's not what the language would have like actually been created for. It's just the only way it's understood and known. So I like that. Very, very good. Okay, so then I'm going to save this again because, you know, with the glitches, it could just be gone. Okay, so we have that. We have determiners for deixis. Deixis? I've already forgotten what it is. Deixis. 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 Okay. Okay, so we have that. Then the question would be, do I need to have possessives, which in context I would only use my. I don't know if that would actually make sense to have here. I can't think of any case where I'd want to have the possessive for my when I could just use like this proximal, right? Because like a spirit isn't going to know which cup on the table is yours, right? Like that's not something they'd know per se, but like I don't know. I mean, maybe it would make sense to have a possessive, unless they just don't have a concept of possession at all, which they are wind spirits that exist in a realm where it would make sense for them not to have a concept of possession. Maybe. You might need third person. So for, I think the pronouns have a third person. That's right. Lead me to the book belonging to specific third party. But the question is, could you say that? Like, could you, like, would they understand that concept? Maybe. I mean, maybe it would make sense to have, but like, I don't know if that would ever actually come up is part of what I'm wondering. Like even if they did have that concept. Because again, there is no one that is fluent in this language, right? So really all you can do is like people, like the other people that exist in the realm where this language is being used, they don't have names in that other language, right? Like you could say their names and be like, like help me find this person, right? But it wouldn't be written anywhere in any of like the spell books or anything like that necessarily. They could have a concept of origins. Oh, that's true. An origins concept could make sense. So many head-marking languages have possession indicated on the possessed object, often with agreement with what is possessing it. So my or his was fused with the object. That's an option too. My or his or... Yeah, because the only one... I'm trying to think how that would realistically work. Like, if you have to speak a certain language for it to go to the other realm for this other, like, these spirits to hear you and be forced to listen to you, would they be able to hear or understand if you say, like, Bob or Fred or whatever, right? Like, would they be able to understand that if my whole concept here is that the language has to, like, you have to speak this language to get them to listen. You can't just like command them in their language and then say something in English. Like they wouldn't understand that. But I feel like a name, like maybe if they, I don't know. I don't know if I'd be able to do that. It may not be entirely relevant here, but yeah, I feel like there has to be something. Or at least it might make sense for us to prep something and then if I never use it, I never use it. Consider slap his face. True. That's true. Okay. Yeah. That's a good point. Okay. So we would want to tie in. Do I use the names have power concept? Yes, but they specifically have to be the spirit's name. Like that's how you like evoke them, is you evoke specific spirits by using their names. But again, their spirits are like, or their names are in that language. So like they have the concept of names and all of that, and they are powerful, but they're not in their language. Hold on. I hear a screaming child. It sounds more like frustrated screaming. But it is not dissipating. All right, well, I probably need to go, but I like the idea of having some sort of possessive. I like the idea of tying in the pronouns with that, of who possesses it, because I don't think I'd use names, at least definitely not when like incorporating things. So I think it makes sense to have it be like my, his, something else. Yeah. I mean, you're not wrong, but also if they get to like, then she'll wake up my son and then they'll both be angry and it's a whole thing. But yeah. We will pick up with exactly how to do the possessives next time. And then, yes, we will do things. But I apologize for the technical difficulties. I will spend time before next time also trying to fix this technical difficulty and having a workaround. Although at that point, I might have my drawing, like a different drawing tablet, because I'm going to try to upgrade it because it's not working for any of the like map drawing or anything I do. It just keeps crashing. And if I have that, maybe we'll try that again. And then maybe it won't work. Although let me know actually. I think that doing this in PowerPoint like this, when it's functional, is actually really helpful and maybe more helpful than just drawing it out. Obviously, assuming that I drew it out in a way that's readable and not this absolute mess. But if you think it's better when I was drawing it, or if it's better when I'm doing this sort of thing in PowerPoint, let me know in the comments and I'll check at that for what I'm going to prep for next time. But regardless, thank you all for helping and watching and being here. And I think the next one I'm doing is a Wednesday in the 20s of the month. I'm not sure. It's already scheduled, so you can look at it either on the Discord or I think it's already on the channel. But yes, thank you everyone and have a good weekend.